What questions are we going to start out with?
What appears to be a psychopathic mass murder.
Destination 32 clear.
A remorseless serial murderer who feels no remorse for their crimes is far scarier than a typical serial killer. While some murderers have tried to atone for their crimes, a few killers are utterly devoid of empathy. These are the murderers who have never shown regret for their actions.
I was saving body parts such as skulls.
Given the horrible manner they behaved at trial, ruthless killers like these would probably never have halted if police didn't catch them. The truly terrible individuals who never felt regret for their actions. The most horrific, inhuman serial killers are examined on this list. Not only did they not offer condolences to the victims' families, but they frequently took pride in their crimes. It almost seems their immoral attitude toward unimaginable crimes gave them twisted joy.
Staying true to the way he's acted since the killings took place, he was once again all smiles.
It's cold-blooded murder.
Let's look at the top 5 killers who showed no remorse in court. The first one is Ronnie O'Neill. The 32-year-old killer O'Neill shot and killed his girlfriend, Kenyatta Barron, with a shotgun. Kenyatta was just 33 years old. O'Neill also killed their 9-year-old daughter, Ranivia, with hatchet blows and disemboweled their son, Ronnie O'Neill IV, who was 8 then. Soon after, he spread gasoline throughout the house and set fire to the house. Police arrested O'Neill upon fleeing the burning house. The son was able to escape, but was critically injured and burned. The first 911 call about the incident came from the girlfriend, who was heard screaming before abruptly hanging up. 8 minutes later, O'Neill called 911, who claimed to the police that some white demons attacked him. A woman named Kiki tried to kill him and was inside the house. Following his arrest, O'Neill was psychologically cleared to represent himself in court. During the trial, he cross-examined his now 11-year-old son, whom he had stabbed, and the son explained everything that had taken place. O'Neill called his son and questioned him in court about whether he had hurt him on the night of the incident. He was proven wrong in court, as the boy claimed he had stabbed him. O'Neill asserted that the prosecution had created false evidence. He shouted in court, blaming the prosecution and claiming it was fraudulent. The judge said, "This is the worst case I've ever seen. It's the worst case I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen some atrocities," after O'Neill was found guilty and sentenced. Additionally, O'Neill showed no remorse and claimed he was not sorry for what he did. He claimed, "I am not sorry for what I did. I am not sorry for what I didn't do." 3 life sentences, including 90 years without parole, were handed down to O'Neill, and his son was adopted by the detective who looked after him the night of the killings.
I did kill Kenyatta Barron. But I want you to tell it like it is if you gonna tell it.
Furthermore, a young boy, Thomas Michael T.J. Lane. Unbeknownst to everyone around him, Lane struggled with making friends when he was a youngster.
Ohio is searching for meaning today, learning more about the high school student who opened fire in the school cafeteria. And ABC's Rena Ninan is back on the story again for us, again tonight.
Desperate 911 calls from a school under siege.
On February 27, 2012 at 7:30 a.m., he entered Chardon High School and started shooting at some students. With a .22 caliber handgun, Lane murdered 3 students and injured 3 more. Demetrius Hewlin, Russell King Jr., and Daniel Parmenter were among those that died. TJ was tried for 3 charges of murder, and he confused the jury with his defense by wearing a shirt that stated "killer" as a joke, treating the proceedings as though they were a joke. As a result, 3 counts of aggravated murder, 2 counts of attempted aggravated murder, and 1 case of felonious assault were brought against Lane at the time of his arrest. Lane entered a guilty plea to all charges after being prosecuted as an adult. For attention, he started acting out in public at his sentencing hearing. As he listened to the testimonials given by the parents of those he had killed, he grinned and laughed. He showed no remorse for his acts and cursed at each of them after they were finished. He also showed them his middle finger. After being found guilty, Lane was given 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Only because he was 17 when the murders occurred, he managed to avoid the death penalty. Next is an American serial killer named Richard Ramirez, dubbed the Night Stalker.
Today, the search for California's Night Stalker continues.
I'm afraid for everybody, elderly, young, everybody.
Ramirez killed over a dozen people and raped, tortured, and murdered over 25 victims over 2 years. Most of these crimes were committed in the California homes of the victims. Ramirez committed his first murder on June 28, 1984. In her own house, the 79-year-old victim was sexually raped, stabbed, and killed. Ramirez had killed nearly a dozen individuals and tortured 25 others in just 1 year. Richard Ramirez, who was 20 years old at the time of the killings, he had done 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, is accused of 13 murders, and 14 burglaries in 1989 after a protracted legal process. Ramirez received a death by gas chamber sentence in California. To this, he showed no signs of guilt and claimed, "Tonight, by degree, repeat not the original night, Father, and show no mercy. I will be avenged. Lucifer dwells in us all. Big deal. Death always went with the territory. See you in Disneyland." After serving more than 23 years on death row and serving 24 years of his sentence, Ramirez passed away on June 7, 2013, at the age of 53 from B-cell lymphoma. In Des Moines, Iowa, 39-year-old Randall Moore is awaiting sentencing after being found guilty of several violent crimes a year earlier. Moore kidnapped his estranged wife, Therese Ann Lynch, and started a hostage situation with police from her apartment. He had 20 shells and didn't want anyone to come knocking. Moore then fired 2 shots from a shotgun, one hitting a police officer in hand and saying, "303, Adam Teresa Ann Lynch's murder." He stated he murdered Lynch because she restricted him from meeting his toddler son at daycare at the time of the incident. First-degree kidnapping, sexual abuse, the attempted murder of a police officer, and the murder of Therese Ann Lynch were both charges against Moore that led to his conviction. However, Moore will now have to confront his own mother-in-law during the sentencing hearing. "What you did to Tristan Marie, my daughter Lynch, was a cruel, disgusting, evil man. Currently, you are rotting and dead." Before she can do so, Moore directly interrupts and attacks the distraught mother. He drops a bombshell, saying, "She hated you. In her journal, she wrote she hated you. You're a loser. I have not 1 ounce of remorse for Tristan's death. It could have all been prevented. All you had to do was let me see my kid. Now you're never going to see her again." Now, before passing judgment, veteran Judge Joel Novak gave the final word. If anyone didn't know what a piece of work you were before you started talking, they know it now. I've never seen anybody like you. I really hope I never see anybody like you again. The court doesn't allow me to punish you any more than I do now. If I could, I would, Randall Moore. At last, he was sentenced to 3 life sentences for crimes against Therese Ann Lynch and an additional 25 years for the attempted murder of police.
Stephen Griffiths became known as the Crossbow Cannibal in 2010.
Lastly, Stephen Griffiths is another dangerous serial killer on the list. He brutally killed 3 women in 2009 and 2010. He took pride and murdered the victims, with all of them having the same thing in common. They were killed with the use of a crossbow. While many serial killers become famous for the number of people they murder, Stephen Griffiths became well known for other reasons. First and foremost, he used a crossbow to kill all of his victims. Second, he showed no remorse for what he had done after being caught. In fact, he appeared to be proud of his actions, even nicknaming himself the Crossbow Cannibal during one of his court appearances. Furthermore, after being caught on CCTV camera killing his 3rd victim, he proudly waved a middle finger directly at the camera lens. Despite the atrocities of his murders and cannibalism, Stephen Griffiths' ruthless disregard for human life may have been the terrifying aspect of him. Griffiths became involved in petty crime during his adolescence. He would shoplift and steal from classmates. Griffith, on the other hand, used a knife to slash the face of a store clerk who tried to stop him from shoplifting when he was 17 years old. Griffiths was sentenced to 3 years in juvenile detention for this offense. Stephen Griffiths told prison guards and psychiatrists that he fantasized about being a serial killer while incarcerated. This should have served as a warning to Stephen Griffiths to keep a close eye on him. However, he was released back onto the streets with limited supervision after serving his sentence. Griffiths admired serial killers in the same way that others admired famous singers or athletes. The killing was an accomplishment in his mind. This attitude towards murder is what makes the Crossbow Cannibal story truly terrifying. Following Blamirez's murder, the Griffiths apartment building caretakers reviewed the CCTV footage, saw the heinous crime, and immediately alerted law enforcement. Soon after, police raided Griffith's apartment, where he was calmly waiting for them to arrest him. Instead, the police discovered remnants of the victims' bodies, as well as photos of his victims, one of which clearly depicted Shelley Armitage's dead body in the bathtub. Griffiths introduced himself as the Crossbow Cannibal at his trial and showed no remorse for his crimes. He appears to have no regard for his fellow humans and has even stated, "I'm misanthropic. I don't have much time for the human race." Griffiths was convicted of all 3 murders in December 2010 and sentenced to life in prison with a whole life order, which means he has no chance of parole. Griffiths has attempted suicide several times since being imprisoned. That's all for today, guys. Do consider clicking the like button and subscribing to this channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you never miss out on any hot news and stay aware of the events going on in the world. Thanks for watching.